In an earlier video, we saw the traveler as a missionary. The traveler that we meet today is the pilgrim. Similar, the difference is that the pilgrim is more concerned about the self, as opposed to the missionary who's out to change the world. The word pilgrim comes from the Latin peregrinus, which means someone who comes from another country or comes from far. For most pilgrims, the pilgrimage is an external manifestation of an inner journey of the spirit, where they fight temptation, they fight evil to emerge victorious and transformed. But the pilgrim has been around for way longer than the word itself. So who were the first pilgrims? Who were the first to believe that a danger-filled journey to a holy site would bring them reward? The first pilgrims were probably not even humans. In 2013, cavers found 100 feet deep chambers in South Africa. Deep in that chamber, which is incredibly difficult to crawl through, were found several skeletons, placed there over centuries. They were not human. They belonged to a pre-human species called Homo naledi. Question is, why were these pre-humans crawling through this narrow cave system to this spot more than 300,000 years ago? Probably, most likely, the Naledis were our first pilgrims. There are many who believe that Göbekli Tepe in Turkey was built some 10,000 years ago and was a site of pilgrimage, and that Stonehenge again is a pilgrim's destination. The Hindus, the Persians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, all ancient civilizations actually had pilgrims and pilgrimages. And interestingly, most were hazardous journeys. And the more hazardous the journey, the greater the spiritual expectancy that a reward would follow. One of the oldest pilgrimages that still continues would be the Kumbh Mela in India. The 2019 Kumbh Mela saw over 200 million Hindu pilgrims. Till a century ago, all pilgrims walked up to Sabrimala, trekking through hilly forests full of tigers and elephants. The 42 days of austerity and penance that preceded the pilgrimage were meant to protect the pilgrims from the dangers of the journey. Even today, there are many who walk to Sabrimala from as far away places as Bangalore. The Bible in itself carries many journey or pilgrim stories, like Abraham's journey to find the land God has promised him, or the journeys of the Israelis with Moses through the wilderness for 40 years to discover the promised land. The Old Testament mentions several pilgrimages of the Hebrews and Christians from across the world journey to the Holy Land. To famous spiritual centers like Santiago de Compostela, this pilgrimage was made famous, incidentally, by Paulo Coelho's famous book, The Pilgrimage, where he talks of his experience on a 500-kilometer walk along the road to Santiago. Islam has the Hajj, mandatory for all Muslims at least once in their lifetime. The Hajj is a pilgrimage to Mecca, and about 2 to 3 million Muslims travel on Hajj every year. The pilgrimage removes the pilgrim from the comfort of his home and his identity, and makes him a mere mortal journeying to cleanse himself or journeying towards a higher truth. While the journeys and motivations vary, the act of pilgrimage blends the physical and spiritual into a unified experience. Before travel became so convenient and so commonplace, pilgrimage was the primary impetus for travel. Till about 50 years ago, there were less tourists and more pilgrims. To me, pilgrimages have always been symbolic of our transitions through life into a higher plane where mortality ceases to exist. For Hindus, the Buddhists, and the Jain, this is a release from the cycle of death and rebirth. For the Abrahamic religion, this is the union with the God. While we wait for this transition to the next world, we enact it out in this world through our pilgrimages.